All right, class, today we're going to talk about finding surface area of a prism. And in yesterday's lesson, we talked about the difference between a prism and a pyramid. Well, today we're only working with prisms. That means they have a flat base, and we will name it by the shape of its base. So it could be a triangular prism. It could be a rectangular prism. It will not be a pyramid. All right, a couple things I want you to remember. Surface area is the sum of all the faces, the area of all the faces. So it's going to be a little bit of work, but it's not hard. We're using formulas that we already know and are familiar with, and we all know how to add, so it'll be easy. The answer will always be in square units, and remember that prisms are named by the shape of their base, and their sides are usually squares, rectangles, or parallelograms. All right, when finding surface area, there's a couple of things you need to do. First thing you need to do is you need to count up how many faces. Remember what a face is? It's a flat surface. So for example, if I was looking at this rectangular prism and I wanted to find out how many faces there were, I would count up every flat surface. All right, and I would have 4 sides, a front and a back, or a top and a bottom, and that would give me 6 faces. So now I'm going to have to find the area of the top, the area of the bottom, the area of each side, and then I will add them up together, and all together they will equal the surface area. All right, so let's practice with this first shape. All right, we have a rectangular prism. First thing I want you to do is tell me how many faces are there. You should have gotten 6. Top, a bottom, and 4 sides. All right, so now I've got to write that out. I've got to write top, bottom. Now, there are 4 sides, but they're not all the same because I'm dealing with a rectangle. So I'm going to call one side the front, one side the back, and then I'll call the other 2 my sides. Okay, so let's look first, all right? What's our formula? What are we dealing with? We're dealing with rectangles. So to find the area of a rectangle, what is that? It's length times width, correct? So we've just got to make sure we have the right numbers. So let's look at this and let's find the top. What are our measurements for the top? If you said 8 times 10, you are correct. So those will be the measurements for my bottom because my top and my bottom are the same. All right, now let's go ahead and let's find the measurements for my front and my back because they too will be the same. All right, I know it's 8 across. How tall is it? Well, it says back here 3.5. So I'm going to write 8 times 3.5. And that's going to be for my front and my back. All right, now we're going to find these sides, these long sides. I have 2 of them. All right, and they are 10 times 3.5. All right, now let's just make our addition problem, right? We're going to multiply and we're going to make one long addition. So 8 times 10, 80. Just line your numbers up carefully so it'll be easy to add. 8 times 3.5, if you were to multiply that out, don't forget to put the decimal in your answer, and you're going to get 28. And then 10 times 3.5, remember anytime you're multiplying a number by 10, there's just 1 0, so I move the decimal 1 time, and my answer is 35. All right, when I add all these numbers together, all right, I'm going to get 286, and we're talking about feet. Square feet, because we are dealing with area. This is surface area. All right, let's look at our next shape, okay? Which is this purple box, okay? It's very similar. This time I want you to do this. All right, I want you to find the number of, I want you to find the number of faces. You should have decided there were 6. Let's label them. We have a top, bottom, front, a back, and 2 sides. All right, look at your shape. Think about which numbers apply to the top and to the bottom. Okay, we know that they are 9 across and 6 wide. So 9 times 6. And if you want, you can come over here and go ahead and write 54 and 54. All right. Now let's go ahead and let's find the front and the back. So look at that carefully. My front is 9 across and it is 5 high, or 5 for the height, so 9 times 5. And that is the same for the front and the back. All right, now we're left with our sides. So look at the numbers that apply to the sides. What are they? 6 times 5 is correct. All right, 9 times 5, 45 and 45. And 6 times 5 is 30 and 30. Add those up. Did y'all get 258? Don't forget your label of meters squared. So our area is 258 meters squared. All right, now look at our triangular prism. I think this is the one that can get confusing for some people, so I really wanted you to see the way the book deconstructed it. Remember, a triangular prism has a triangular base. All right, now they have it laying on its side right now, but when they deconstructed it, or when they took it apart and opened it up, look what you have. You only have 2 triangles. Everything else is a rectangle. All right, so you've got to keep that in mind, because to find the area of a triangle, we need to use the formula A equals 1/2 B times H. But to find the area of a rectangle or a parallelogram, we're either going to say length times width or base times height. So you have 2 different formulas you're going to be using for the triangular prism. All right, let's go ahead and try the purple triangle. All right, our purple triangular prism. All right, we're going to start off again with talking about how many faces there are. How many faces? How many sides do I need to find the area of? So count them up. All right, did you get 5? Good. You have a front. You have a back. You have a bottom. and you have two sides. All right, so let's look at this again. All right, our front is our triangle. So we already know that we're going to put 1/2 because we know that triangles, to find the area, is 1/2 times the base times the height. So it's going to be 1/2 of 4 times 3. So write that for the front and the back. All right, now let's find let's do the bottom, since that's our next one. Here's our bottom. So what are the numbers for the bottom? 4 times 4 is correct. All right, so we have that. And we don't have to worry about the 1/2 because that was only needed for a triangle. All right, now let's do this long side. Let's find the area of that. So our numbers are 4 times 5. All right, and the only thing we have left to do now is we have our last little side back here. All right, and what is the area of that? Okay, did you get 3 times 4? Good. We know it's 4 going across the bottom on this side, so it has to be 4 on that side, and it's 3 yards high. All right, now let's come over here and let's do the math. All right, 1/2 of 4 is 2. 2 times 3 is 6. I have that 2 times. 4 times 4 is 16. 4 times 5 is 20, and 3 times 4 is 12. I add those numbers up for a total of 60 yards squared. So my surface area is equal to 60 yards squared. All right, I think we really should try it one more time. All right, we already know that our total faces are 5, right? Because that's not going to change for a triangular prism. So let's go ahead and make our labels. We're going to have a front. We're going to have a back. We're going to have a bottom. And we're going to have 2 sides. And remember, they may not be the same. Now, when I look at this triangle, it looks like it is not an equilateral, but an isosceles. So it does look like I'm going to have some sides that may be the same, which makes it a little easier. All right, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to do the triangles. All right, so let's go ahead. We know we're going to have 1/2 times our base is 16 times, what's our height? 6. Good. All right, and we know that we'll have the same thing for the back. Okay, we're going to have 1/2 of 16 times 6. All right, now let's look at the bottom. And I'm going to highlight this because sometimes I think it's really hard to see. All right, here is our bottom. Now, what do you think the measurement should be for that? Remember, it's a rectangle, so I'm looking for length and width. How many of you thought it should be 16 times 9? Good. That's correct. Okay, now our sides, and in this case, our sides are going to be the same because we have similar, because of the way it's shaped. This triangular prism is shaped. Okay, so now we're going to do our sides. Okay, that's one side. If I go across, I'm doing length and width. I'm going to get what? 10 times 9. And the other side is the same. You can see there's a 10 back there, and the base part is still 9. All right? So now we're going to do the math, and we're going to start adding our numbers together. What's half of 16? 8 times 6, so I'm going to have 48 2 times. 16 times 9. Take a minute, multiply it out. All right, you should have gotten 144. And then 10 times 9 is 90, and I have that 2 times. Now when you add all those up, you're going to get 420 meters squared. So my area is equal to 420 meters squared. Now, I know this video is longer than the others and there's a lot of information. If you want to split this into 2 days, this might be a good stopping point. If you want to go ahead and finish it, we're going to talk about a cube, all right? We're going to talk about the cube. It says when all the edges of a rectangular prism have the same length, the rectangular prism is a cube. The net of a cube shows that each of the 6 identical square faces has an area of s squared. So a formula for the surface area of a cube is surface area equals 6s squared. All right, and remember, side square is the formula for the area of a square, right? So if we have 6 of those, then we can say surface area is equal to 6 times side squared. All right? That's what they're basically telling you. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's use our formula of surface area is equal to 6 times side squared. All right, so 6 times, what is my side? 4 squared. Now you know you always take care of your exponents first. So I'm going to be really saying 6 times 4 squared is the same as 16. Remember, that means it's 4 times 4, not 4 times 2. And what is 6 times 16? Good. It's 96 centimeters squared. So our surface area is equal to 96 centimeters squared. Now, some of you, when you see that there's a fraction over here, you start thinking, oh, what am I going to do? You're just going to multiply like you always would. All right? We know how to multiply with fractions. So we're going to use our formula. We always start with that first. 6, my side is 1/2 squared. So come off to the side, and when you say what is 1/2 times 1/2, what do you get? You get 1/4. That's correct. So I'm going to say 6, go and put it over 1, times 1/4. You can cancel out, and you can say 2 can go in there 2 times, 2 can go in here 3, and you'll get 3 over 2, which is reduced to 1.5 inches squared. So your surface area is 1.5 inches squared. Working with a cube is really easy. All right, the last thing I want to talk to you about today is, you always get that question, when are we ever going to use this, Mrs. Smith? When is this ever going to come in handy? Well, if you're ever painting a room in your house, and you're wondering how much paint to buy, or you're working on something like that, or wrapping a box with paper and you wonder if you have enough wrapping paper, all of those things, you could figure it out by using these formulas. So let's go ahead and look at this story problem. It says 1 pint of chalkboard paint covers 60 square feet. What is the least number of pints of paint needed to paint the walls of a room in the shape of a rectangular prism with a length of 15 feet, a width of 13 feet, and a height of 10 feet? Explain. All right? And if you were thinking, now remember though, on this prism, we're only going to be finding the area of how many faces? a 4. I don't think anyone's going to paint their ceiling with chalkboard paint or paint their floor with chalkboard paint. We're just painting the walls of the room, okay? So let's keep in mind if we had our rectangular room, okay, and we are painting just the walls, okay, then we have 4 walls that we have to paint. And it told me that my length is 15 feet. It says my width is 13 feet. And my height is 10 feet. Okay? So I know I'm painting only 4 of my faces. So let's just label them as, front, back, side, and side. All right, so if I do my front, I'm going to say that is 15 Sorry guys, I had a little interruption there. All right, if I'm going to label this, and I'm going to figure out the front, I'm going to figure out 15 times 10. The back will be the same, 15 times 10. My side is going to be 13 times 10 and 13 times 10. All right, so let's make our addition problem. 15 times 10 is 150. And 13 times 10 is 130. And when I add those up, I'm going to get 560 feet squared. Okay? Well, 1 pint of chalkboard paint covers 60 square feet. How many 60s are there in 560? How many times? Well, if I took it in there 9 times, what's 60 times 9? It's 540. Is that enough to paint this room? No, it's not. I'm going to be a little bit short. So I'm going to actually have to buy 10 pints. 10 pints to paint my room.